Hello everybody, Bill here again at QA1, and today I'm going to give you a roadmap of how to take your G-Body from boring old grocery getter to apex predator. Alright, well what we got here is my 1987 Buick Grand National, also aptly known as the G-Body chassis, or if you're from the Circle Track realm, a metric car. And I really like these cars for a number of reasons. One, I was lucky enough to have a dad who purchased this in 1991, and then I get to be the caretaker of it now. But G-Bodies are really popular cars. They're really coming up for a number of reasons, and probably the biggest reason is they're just very accessible. They had everything from Malibus to El Caminos to there's four-door cars, there's Regals like this. There, you know, you got some of the special ones like the Hearst Olds and the 442s. You got the Grand Nationals and the Pontiac Aerocoupes. But most of them that aren't like the top echelon kind of models of the G-Body realm are very accessible cars. They were just normal cars with boring old 305s in them, or even worse, like a V6. And they're just very accessible. They've been used in circle track racing for years and years, decades now, and they're still like the basis of this chassis is still widely used in a lot of circle track stuff. So you have a lot of street performance parts you can get. If you want to get really, really wild, you can start diving into what some of the circle track guys do to improve their suspension geometry, things like that. So there's just endless amounts of things that you can do to one of these cars to make it do whatever you want it to, whether it's drag race or autocross or road race or, I don't know, cannonball, whatever you want it to do. There are parts readily available to do it. So if you're not like a big time fabricator, you can buy parts that bolt on and transform it from boring, soft, grocery getter to what it can be, whatever you want it to be. All right. So step one, if you want to turn your G-Body into something else, is really figure out where you're at. Get underneath the car, look at the bushings, look at the shocks, the springs, figure out what's actually in there. Whether you bought a completely stock, untouched car, or you bought something that's been somebody's project for many years, whatever it is, figure out where you're at. And that's going to help you figure out where to go from there. So first things first, look for any worn components. Look for bushings that are all cracked and dry rotted. Look for any evidence that any suspension components have been hitting any other pieces. I've seen where like a center link on your steering can be bent and it can push it back into the cross member. I've seen where worn bushings can make your trailing arms in the back hit the frame, things like that. So just get under there and really take a look at what you're working with. Look at the bushings, look at the springs. Make sure if somebody cut the springs, that's a common thing. Somebody will chop the springs to lower the car. You would probably want to get those out of there. And look at the shocks. Do the old shocks, are they all wet with fluid? Have they been blown out long ago? Are they drag racing shocks on a car that you want to put on the street? That's something to look at. So first things first is figure out where you're at with the car, and then next we'll get into the sweet upgrades. First, real good bang for the buck upgrade, and that was the first thing I did with this car, was coilovers front and rear. The coilovers allow you to adjust the ride height up or down. The front is our kits are generally stock ride height to -2 inches. Now that does vary depending on what spring rate you purchase and things like that, but you can generally plan for about a 2-inch drop. In the back, I've got a 200-pound spring on our coilover kit, just our off-the-shelf bolt-in coilover kit. And both the front and rear stuff are completely bolt-in pieces. The rear, you drill couple of holes. Other than that, it all bolts in place and gives you a shock and spring package that you can tune. You can tune the valving on the shocks with the adjustment knobs, and you can tune the spring rate as well just by simple spring rate changes, which are easy to make and readily available in all kinds of different rates. So we offer 3 spring rates for our rear kit. If what you're doing is outside of what those springs are good for, you can get any number of springs you want. In the front, we've got 9 spring rates available. So everything from super soft drag racing spring to super stiff road race springs. So first step, get the car down a little bit if you want to lower it. I like to lower it. And new shocks and springs. Great bang for the buck. Goes a long way. So now you've got coilovers in, you've got the car dropped down, or you got your ride height set where you want it, you got your shocks adjusted so that they're, you know, what you want them to do. You can start driving the car a little harder, you know, you can start throwing it into corners a little bit harder. And what you're going to start finding there is the next point. The next point to upgrade, in my opinion, sway bars. What those sway bars are going to do for you is they're going to help keep the car level. When you throw it into a corner and the car wants to lean over, it's going to help keep it flatter on the corner and keep all four of your tires, your contact patches, in good shape. Because otherwise what happens is when your car leans way up, your alignment changes and you lose contact patch. Especially on the inside, you lose a lot of contact patch. So with a sway bar, help keep the car a little bit more level during that is going to help you in, it's just going to make the car feel a lot more confident. It's going to make the car turn quicker. It's going to make the car feel more planted when you go into a corner. And in the middle of the corner, you're not going to notice as much of the car, especially if you don't have big, nice sway bars on there, or sometimes no sway bars. You'll feel the car start to bounce on the springs because it's trying its hardest to not lean, but physics are doing their thing and they're leaning the car. So you get something that helps control that weight transfer side to side, and the car is going to feel a lot more stable and a lot more confident through the corner. All right, so you've got your coilovers in, you got your ride height adjusted, you got your shocks adjusted, you got your sway bars on, you're loving life, you're hitting corners with confidence. Next up, the control arms. Now, what you may be noticing, now that you've really tightened up the handling of the car, you might notice, man, the steering just feels so doggone light and vague. And that's exactly the way it was designed to be. It was designed to have really easy steering. Way back when, they called it one-finger steering, where you theoretically could steer the car with your power steering with one finger, which is awesome if you don't want to put any effort into anything. But when you're driving a car spirited or doing anything with it that's more along our modern ways of looking at things, you want feedback through the steering wheel. And one of the greatest ways to get that is through adding caster to your alignment, basically. And that's what these arms are designed to do. They're designed to get you 4 to 5 more degrees of caster than what was originally there. And by doing that, or in doing that, we've moved the upper ball joint backwards and the lower ball joint forwards, so it keeps the wheel in the same place. It doesn't pull the wheel backwards, but it gives you that added caster. So what that's going to do is, you know, cruising down the highway, the car's going to track real nice and straight. When you go into a corner, you're going to feel a little bit more resistance, just because you're going to feel the road more. Really big difference. And the other great thing is that you're going to get rid of the 30 to 40-year-old crappy rubber worn out bushings that have probably never been touched, because most people never did. And you're going to get really nice new polyurethane or IGUS bushings, which are very, very low deflection and low friction, and everything just moves super easy. So the control arms let your suspension move easier so that your shocks and springs can do more of the job of controlling the weight and the motion of the car. So the last piece of moving parts that you would want to address in your G-body would be the rear trailing arms. And there's different options for the upper trailing arms. There's just a one-piece welded bar that's the same length as stock. And we've also got an adjustable trailing arm, which allows you to adjust your pinion angle after you change the ride height of the vehicle. And you can check out our other videos. We've got another video that really details those. But really what the trailing arms are going to do for you is they're going to get you more traction. The trailing arms are a boxed section, which means that they're totally boxed in on all sides rather than the stock ones, which are a stamped kind of a C-channel. They don't twist and flex nearly as much. They've also got brand new polyurethane bushings in them that are very low deflection and things like that. So what that means is when you go to get out of the hole, if you're drag racing or even just hammer on it from a stop, all of that power is going to be going into your tires and into the ground rather than into flexing your suspension stuff and your bushings. before it gets to your tire. So you're going to feel more direct connection to to get, from your right foot down to the ground. And you're just going to get more traction, which is great for getting out of the hole. But if you're just looking to do burnouts, you're going to want to do a little bit, you're going to want to lean into that gas pedal just a little bit more. So now all of your moving parts of the suspension have been addressed, the coilovers, the sway bars, the control arms, the trailing arms. The last piece would be to start stiffening up the chassis. These cars were not known to be real stiff chassis. Some of them, like these Grand Nationals, they didn't even come with all the body bushings in them. They wanted them to flex because flexible makes for comfortable. Well, when you want like a performance-oriented car, you want it to be more tight, more rigid. So we've got adjustable frame braces as well as a non-adjustable frame brace, which links together your trailing arm mounts on the chassis side in the back. So it bolts together, no cutting, no welding, nothing like that. It just bolts onto the existing trailing arm mounts and it braces those together. So if you are drag racing or if you're just, just high performance street car stuff, you're going to get less flex in the chassis at that point. Well, there you have it. There's your roadmap if you're thinking about where to start or what to do on your G-body to get it to handle and perform the way you want it to. There you go. Some things to think about. Make sure to click like and subscribe on the YouTubes and check out our social media stuff on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff if you haven't already. We'll see you next time. So the first thing that is a really great
What?
I'm gonna look at control arms, and what they do is they control the arms.
What? Was that trying to be serious? Was I not supposed to laugh?
No, I lost my spot. They ran very little caster, and caster is gonna come out of the hole like a frog on sandpaper.
That was the weirdest analogy.
Yeah, but you can imagine what a frog on sandpaper would be like.
I'm picturing it.
Yeah.